Hello, welcome to another Holy Cow conversation. I'm Daniel, some kind of questionable, disreputable guy who sometimes pretends he's a baboon online. Um, since the Holy Cow is generally interested in different cultures of wisdom and worship, local and online, it's only natural for it to have an interest in the local PsyTrance culture or scene of South Africa. So, as a loyal baboon shepherd of this cow, I follow its interest. Many through the ages have indicated the deep philosophical and spiritual significance of music, both in terms of the state and that of the individuals in it. With Psytrance, we have this incredibly interesting nomadic synthetic form that actively integrates emerging cultural artifacts with the capacities of new sound and computer technologies in the music making process. It also pushes the envelope in terms of phasing dance floor etiquette into a kind of serious play and ritual-like construction. There's a lot to be said about this form of music and the scene it generates around itself. It is itself a reflection and a celebration of the context from which it emerges, the forests, cities, mountains of this country that inspire and host its multi-day dance events. One of the fathers of the global scene, Go Gill, saw himself as being engaged in reimagining and redefining an ancient tribal ritual for the 21st century. My guest today is a young South African artist, Hannah Craig, known as Artilla. She is the daughter of Ross Campbell, a South African drummer who was part of bands like Fetish, Benguela, Simon van Gent, Urban Creep, and Angela Craig, a healer from Greyton, South Africa, a pianist and a cellist in her own right. Hannah studied classical piano and sound technology and has since begun her career as an up-and-coming artist, DJ, composer, event host. My only cause for being suspicious of Hannah is that she dated me for a while. Hannah has recently branched out into event organizing and hosting through Artillery Events, recently throwing a party called Conjuring or Conjuring Chaos, somewhere there in the Overberg Mountains of the Western Cape, in collaboration with Front Right Productions. I'm full of my own ideas about Psytrance and the militaristic implications of the names I just mentioned, but we are here to hear about Hannah's recent experience conjuring chaos, whether that was just greeting chaos or conjuring it. We will likely touch on naming, but mostly this is an opportunity for Hannah to reflect on this recent event and share some of her process around it. So, welcome to Holy Cow, Hannah.
Mm, thank you. Happy to be here.
Very lacquer, very good, very good. So, I mean, I wanted to, on the first question, just kind of, um, I do have questions for you, so we will have something specific, but generally, generally, or as open as a question can be, and an opportunity for you to reflect on what you've just been involved in, uh, what inspired your involvement, or what you've taken away. The gesture is a very open question. If it's too open, I can make it more specific.
Um, it is quite general, but I'll try my best. So I think, yeah, recently there's been a lot of talk of the Psy scene kind of dying out and not really being so relevant anymore. A lot of artists or up and coming artists are not really being given the opportunity to showcase their music. I think we're hearing a lot of the old, just the old arts kind of being replayed and rehashed over and over. And I think, yeah, I just felt like, along with many other people, that the Psy scene kind of needed a bit of a change of pace, and to um, yeah, maybe give a platform to those who wouldn't otherwise have one. That is maybe a little bit arrogant. Obviously, this is my first event, but I really wanted to, curate my own lineup of people that I don't typically see on lineups around South Africa. And also not just to give DJs a chance, although of course there were DJs there, but also actual artists who are creating their own music. So yeah.
That's awesome. I'm very glad I opened with quite a general question, because I wasn't aware of that sentiment. Because you are involved with um, uh, well, artists, fellow artists, people who are making music. I know maybe it's a question we can get to later, this kind of collective process of music making. At least recall the help that you're getting with different programs that are used, and the sense from the outside is it is very much a collective effort, the music making. At least the help that you all give each other in that process. But it was surprising to hear that there's a sense of the scene, something in the scene becoming less relevant. I suppose because from my vantage points and part of my interest and part of the invite was getting the sense that there is this kind of burgeoning creativity happening, or there do seem to be artists that are um, increasingly active in the I guess it's kind of underground scene. I mean, it's not a small thing for someone to be inspired to throw an event or for friends in their spare time to um, have these kind of events companies like Front Right Productions and um, meeting Mitchell once. He was saying there was an inspiration just to like have an opportunity to express something, like not going through the channels of more established uh, festivals. So I'm doing a bad job, but I'm trying to I kind of I don't know how to ask for you to say more in that regard in terms of that scene. Um, yeah, you're going to jump in, or
Uh, n no, I'm not entirely sure what the question is.
there isn't a question? Yeah, I'm getting worse at posing
Oh,
questions. The
okay. Do you want me to say more about what I was saying?
I think so. I think so. I guess it was just surprising to hear the sense that there's the irrelevance of the scene. Why I suppose why do you think that
Um,
is, or um, and then how do you see the means of intervention? Like how do you see how a scene is generated, or the scene that you're involved in, that you're participating in, like how are you assessing it in terms of its productivity, its value, or like things that indicate a health to you, like directions that you might want to see develop, things that have been surprising to you in its development and in your involvement in it, or um, yeah, I guess I'm just really curious, like how you kind of mapping it all and looking forward, how you imagine it developing ideally, or
mm. Well, I mean, a lot of really interesting things are happening. People are making um, a lot of really incredible music. It's just that it's not really being heard, I don't think, that much. The big festivals predominantly uh, are not, really giving a platform, I think, to a lot of these artists. It also really depends, I think, of course, your headliner acts, um, people want someone with a big name because that, brings a crowd. Um, and there are many overheads. Um, so yeah, unfortunately, I think, especially with the bigger festivals, we are seeing a lot of the same acts being booked over and over. And it also depends entirely on the connections that you have in the scene. Um, I think because of that, that's another reason why we're sort of seeing the same artists repeatedly being booked. So yeah, unfortunately, I think one of the biggest things that people look at is, especially if you are booked for an event, like how much are you willing to market that event? Um, if people can see you making a big effort in that direction, then I think you're a lot more likely to be booked again. And as we know, artists are not really, so social media inclined. So that's a little bit of a struggle. Um, but then, yeah, I think, it's really up to us, the younger people, up and coming artists to be hosting our own events, you know. Um, if you're not getting booked, then I suppose do something about it. That
Yeah.
was sort of my approach.
No, it's lovely and it's inspiring as well. And but it's a there's a kind of, I mean, even in the title, like Conjuring Chaos, or maybe like there's something that there's something about like artistic license or like even a proximity to something that might be underground, that it like it opens a certain playfulness that might become um that you might need to start playing down if you start playing a different game, if you start playing for um for numbers, or like if the inspiration or the motivation kind of changes a little bit. So, I mean, even that's what I mentioned, like even in the name there, like Conjuring Chaos is going to be quite a specific, um, it's going to resonate for quite a specific group of people. So you can see how it,
Mm,
um, I guess it's always a toss up. There's always like the sense of an opportunity cost, like how much do you lean into that exploratory, really creative space, and then how much do you try and hit um, a specific market. I mean, I guess I have a curiosity around the name. Um, maybe if you
no ways.
the yeah, I'm terrible today at posing questions. I guess it's because I just have like a kind of amorph interest or curiosity, but I'm just trying to like grapple a bit or get a sense. So I mean,
Mm,
you obviously resonated with people who have a similar view of how things are, a similar drive in terms of wanting to showcase their stuff, also in terms of wanting to throw a party together. There's like this valuing of this kind of event, and you link up with them, and there's a sense of a scene, and then you throw the event. I mean, this might sound like a strange question. Like, what do you think steers that whole process? Like, what organizes it? Like, is that a clear question? Like, how does it, like if it's a bigger festival, you might say like what's steering it is maybe even like a profit, um, like putting on a big show for for pri I don't I don't know if speaking more is going to ruin the question, but like in the sense of collaboration with other artists and with other um what I love about the scene as well is like how involved a participant is, or just like a dancer. So the sense of participation in it is very special. Just being at an
mm,
event. So
mm.
like in this specific instance of Conjuring Chaos, what do you think was like steering the process? I mean, because it's even there in the name, like there's some kind. Well, you're conjuring something. What do you think you conjured?
Um, well, there definitely was a little bit of chaos, as I think. there always is for events. You can't really know how things are going to go until they happen. Um, yeah, I mean, there was definitely a bit of torrential rain, so the slight panic at the disco, but only luckily for probably 20 minutes or so. Um, there were some very angry neighbors that, yeah, we had to do some serious damage control. Um, yeah, there was complaints of the cows not producing enough milk.
That's
Um,
interesting.
yeah. Um, yeah, some issues with generators and things like that. Overall, not it wasn't a train smash. We definitely had a lot more luck, I think, with the event. So not too much chaos was conjured, but I mean, I think even just the kind of music that was being played. I mean, I think that was primarily where the chaos was being conjured. Um, but yeah, what was the, sorry, I think I forgot what your question was.
No, it's no problem because they've been terrible questions all out, so don't worry. This how would you how would you I mean how would you categorize the music that's being generated? It might be a
Um,
useless question. This okay, so maybe we can get back there to like genre or whatever. It's not that it's really uh this the weather events is interesting. And just to I mean you guys were quite far away from neighbors. There's just a farmhouse on the hill if I can remember having driven past. Um
yeah, they were, I think, probably all within about 2 kilometers, so they weren't terribly far away, but
yeah.
yeah.
And it's loud music through the night.
Mm, mm.
Yeah. It's I've never known how to speak about it exactly, but it's the 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 weather patterns and trance parties. In the last few years, there's been some kind of significant interruptions in at least a few events that I've attended, like being rained out, and um,
Yeah.
it's always very interesting. I saw this festival happen. It's called Fractal Festival in Namibia. There's
Yeah.
that rock formation like Spitzkop.
Mm.
Um, and then I see now um, flooding happening in Namibia. Um, I
Oh,
mean, these
really?
are
Currently?
currently, yeah. It's just like I might be implying like some ridiculous kind of associations or implications, but you know, like rain dancing and this kind of thing, and it's like it's a it's structural that the parties of the scene happen where they happen. It's like out in the mountains and it's outside. They're part of um like when you dragged us off to a trance party first as the kind of trance music proselytizer that you are. Um, the the part of the experience is where and how it's happening. It's like in a festival context. There's something to that um, informs the experience, or it's like an irreducible aspect of it. Like I know I'd heard trance music before, but there was something about attending um, that that put it in context. Um,
Mm. I
or
remember
gave
that. That was like Freaky Forest, I think.
Freaky Forest. Even the names of songs, scenes, artists. It's also incredibly sometimes overwhelmingly um, playful. So
Mm.
you have a broader scene that it sometimes names this thing of plur. You know, like peace, love, unity, respect as its kind of ethos. Um,
Hmm.
then you have this contingent or this group of increasingly active artists that you're involved in that are producing music that experimental, fun, sometimes like a darker kind of affect. Um,
Mm.
and the name of the event itself is Conjuring Chaos. So how do you how do you see that um, going together? Like the more public facing side of the scene has this like well the plur, you know, um,
Hmm.
and then there's the sense of this underground, uh, I guess, a space for more play. Um, how did you experience that ethos of plur in terms of your collaborators and then in terms of the event, and how do you think it relates with the, I mean, even the event title?
Um, Yeah, I mean, for the most part, I felt that was kind of the backbone of the whole organization process, and I wouldn't have wanted it to be any other way. Um, but I also, I felt like I got particularly lucky with regards to that. Um, well, especially just working with Front Right, everybody there is incredible at what they do. They all love what they do. They want to be there. There's not a single person, you have to nag or to do their job, Everyone's sort of equally pulling their weight. Um, and so, yeah, so I learned a lot from them in terms of what it takes to run an event. And then, yeah, in terms of the the attendees, well, I suppose we were both pretty strict on who we wanted there. Um, So yeah, everyone who buys a ticket is vetted in some sense, or at least we know who we don't want there. So it keeps it I don't know if clean is the right word, but um, it keeps it intimate and wholesome, I suppose. We know that the people there are lovely people. Um, And yeah, I suppose then the people that we chose to work with, that we developed quite close relationships with them as well. So, whether it's the artists, the guys providing sound, the venue owners, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah, all really good relationships established. So definitely people that we can work with in the future. So from that perspective, yeah, it felt like that energy was very much there. And then I feel like that's a good foundation from then which to explore the sort of playful, naughtier side of the music.
Mm, mm.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah, it's a lovely reflection. Like the um, it's I guess like in a wider cultural sense, it can almost be um, it can be like I don't know how to express it. Like maybe like a bit intimidating that a context or container has a standard, so that you might be excluded. That like just having money for an entry ticket is not enough to.
Mm.
It's not like a strict commodity in that sense. There's a sense of a um, there's a living culture there. There's a sense of it being passion driven. So it's like these are like kind of peripheral reasons of why the I guess why I'm so interested and have enjoyed and benefited from being at being at parties. It might sound like a crazy thing to say, but like um, uh, I've learned a lot about myself in that kind of context, and not always in an easy way. Um, uh,
Mm. Mm.
So that's it's a I mean the kinds of words that seem close is like there is a seriousness to the play that can get afforded. It's almost like um the willingness to front apparently darker material. So like a chaos, like a can uh it can afford something. There's maybe like a filtering
Mm.
that it does, but it I think it can afford a certain kind of containing. How do you how did you come to the name artillery?
Well, I mean, my artist name is Artilla, so it kind of made sense to to expand that into artillery events. There were some definitely dodgier options up for grabs, which I'm quite glad I didn't go with. Um,
Yeah,
I think I can't remember. I actually didn't think of that first. Somebody else did. It might have been Mitchell. Um, but yeah,
yeah,
it seemed like the best fit. And also because then it's easier to link it to me, you know?
yes, yeah, to Attila. Um,
Yeah.
I mean, these are slightly leading questions for me, but because I mean, Attila, maybe say a little bit up about your artist name, where that comes from.
Um, right. Well, Artilla comes from Attila the Hun, the Mongolian warlord. And I know you wanted me to say that. Um, yeah, I got that nickname because my name is Han or Honey. And so my friend Maria, um, she started calling me Artilla. Um, I think she actually thought that it was Artilla rather than Attila, so um, yeah, it kind of stuck. She was the only
Right.
person that called me that, Artilla. Um, and yeah, when I was thinking of artist names, that kind of came to the forefront.
Uh,
Um, so yeah, hence Attila.
Attila. No, it's epic. I enjoy it. I really enjoy the military-esque um associations for my own reasons.
Yeah, I think it's
The
also kind of funny because a lot of people experience me as being quite sweet.
yes,
So it's quite a fun it's quite a funny contrast.
yes, yes. Um, yeah, but there's something. I think it's in the similar domain of kinds of play, I guess. Um, I mean the reason why I guess it titillates me, this like uh artillery. Like when I saw the name artillery, I was like, yeah, it's just feeding this. It's not my theory. There's this guy Graham St. John who uh, edits a dance cult journal. I think he's Australian, but dance cult is about like global dancing cultures or something to that effect. And I was reading some of his stuff having to do with um, the kind of imagery or symbolism that are used by producers and DJs. It's often there's often um, like something like a journey and encounter. So alien imagery is very strong in the scene, like a encounter
Hmm.
with something alien or alienation. So
Mm.
there's something like a an encounter with radical otherness, which might be really human, and it's contained on these like ships almost that are the dance floors, the like in place dance floors that go through this couple of days process of dancing and etc. I think there's a quality to
Mm.
that kind of encounter that can sometimes I don't think it's completely wrong to associate like a warlike imagery almost in terms of the encounters, in terms of the journeying. Um, and in terms of the possibility that there's some kind of ordeal that one can one can go
Mm.
through. Um, and I think the the music has at least been uniquely valuable to me in that kind of way. Um, Revealing certain stuff about myself through its almost form, you know, like this well, it's trance inducing, um, and it plays with implication and but this that these are my own uh, the own way that I grapple with it with in terms of thinking about it. Um, I
Mm.
I knew you were hoping to play some new music that you were in the process of creating before the event. Did you get to play it?
Yeah, I was, but no, unfortunately, I didn't. Um, yeah, that's been another a slight struggle of mine. Um, I suppose like the artistic process,
Hmm.
um, is something that both comes quite naturally to me and also, um, yeah, something I procrastinate hugely on.
Also
Um,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, I think it's where I have like the most amount of probably like doubt
Yeah,
in my
yeah.
own personal life. Um, but yeah, I was stressing a lot about that and I kind of had to just like relax and just accept where things were going.
Doubt,
Um,
resistance, it's like the thing that you're most drawn to, but also the most difficult thing that you do. And like, does this kind of stuff resonate? It's like I guess just
mm,
from a f the maybe this is associated to the genre question. Like, part of what's so um exciting about your skills and the music that you make and will make. It's like this, and it's also a question of what kind of has drawn your interest to this art form or to this scene or genre or what it is. Like the training in classical music, you're proficient on the
mm,
piano and you can do all that. You also have had
mm,
this long love of psytrance and trance, and an associated question is like how much you feel um, to be a child or like an offspring of the scene that you've been involved in through as you've grown up. But like more of the question now is, um, well, it's I think it's because we're on this dilemma of like creative process, you know, and how difficult it is, and I think it's more difficult when you um, trying to do something that it is like uniquely your own. I at least know that like um when I write stuff,
mm,
it's really to complete it and then put it out is terrifying because it's so exposing. Um, but so there were a few questions
mm.
there. I mean, the one was just reflecting on this the difficulty of artistic process, I guess, and that might be because of the the form that you're attempting. Um, what do you think that form is? Um, and how much do you feel a child of the scene, really?
Um, sorry, I'm just trying to keep in mind all of your questions.
Yeah, that was a lot.
Um, okay, well, just to, I suppose, maybe touch on the child of the scene thing. Um, yeah, I mean, interesting. I mean, a lot of people, I suppose, didn't actually grow up with psytrance. It's not like that was sort of being played in their family home. Um, this was usually some like musical discovery along the way, that has drawn people to psytrance. So I think it's quite rare that, your parents introduced you to to psytrance. Um, but yeah, in terms of being a child of the scene, okay, maybe I'll return to that.
Yeah. So the yeah, I'm sorry, it was a whole like scattershot of questions. But the kind of thinking in it was, um, you're drawn to participation in this scene in a particular way. Your artistic expression, so your creativity is also drawn to a particular form or like formatting. Um, and it's like speaking into a scene, and it's also being inspired. It's being inspired by a scene, and it has this added weight of being like very uh, close to you or important to you. You know, like it's the music that you want to be making, which uh, might like make it harder to make almost in a strange way. Um,
Mm, mm. I suppose because it's you want to, it's the thing that inspires you the most. So you want to um, represent it as like honestly and fully as you can. So even just that in itself creates that's quite a lot of pressure, you know. It's like to create something that is equal to your biggest inspiration,
yes,
you know, is quite a thing. You know, it's not just a casual, you know, art project or whatever.
yeah, yeah.
I think that's maybe why. Yeah.
But
Well, at
yeah.
least for me, yeah.
No,
Yeah.
that's can I think a lot of people will relate to that weight, and it's kind of funny sometimes how you're almost you almost become more productive once like a distance is established. It's like the
Mm.
the intensity of almost like the anticipation or the desire to um I mean a productive
Yeah.
yeah
I was just gonna say it's like you don't really have any perspective when you operating from that space. You've almost got like blinkers on. I realized also now, like playing piano, it's the same. It's the same thing. You're so sort of weighed down by this responsibility of almost like representing yourself or representing the music that you care about that um, it almost entirely prevents you from enjoying the music or or even just hearing it. So and I realize that's why it's often a lot easier playing with other people because um, you're suddenly not just involved in your own process, but you have a responsibility um, to participate and, you know, collaborate with other people
mm,
um, and not let them down in some ways. So,
yeah
it also it like takes it out of you. It doesn't have to be about you anymore. It can be about them or the group. Um, so actually, when I play by myself, I often pretend that I'm playing either with people or for people, but in a sense of like maybe I'll pretend that I'm playing for like a children's theater group or something, you know,
mm,
where it's not really about me anymore. It's like I'm facilitating their their process or their production.
yes okay yes yeah it's like playing for in terms of like an audience, and then there's also the way in which like for can have this added dimension of something like benefit, you know, like
Hmm.
it decenters. I'm decentered when I'm like orientated towards uh the other, or like how I fit in into how things are operating. And then if that if that has this added dimension of like valuing or being passionate about what one is participating in, then the like doing for has
Mm,
this added oomph to it, like um,
mm,
something potent to participate in. Um,
mm,
sure. There's a I mean I feel like we we scratched the surface of of a lot of interesting stuff. It's been good for me. Uh, just catching up and getting feedback, and also realizing um, the stumbling in the beginning, how difficult almost it was to pose questions. I guess because it's kind of a curiosity that I was struggling to find something to grab onto, but because you have a listening party soon, which is of this new release, Forgotten Boss. I mean, how fun is that name? Just as a side note, um, as a
mm.
way of as a way of slowly approaching an end. How would you um, how would you express your? I suppose you can go as wide and as you would like, also historically. Like, how would you express what most inspires you about uh, the scene, or about your creativity within the scene, or musically, or
Um, Gosh. Do we still have sound, by the way? I
sound?
can't. I don't know if I can hear you. Okay,
Um,
there we go.
I can hear you.
Um, yes, what most inspires me? Well, I mean, I think definitely like the actual artists, it's a bunch of like um nerdy, shy people, creating amazing things and um yeah, just that community, I suppose, is something that excites me a lot. Um, just that in itself is underground. Um, yeah, I mean, it's always just wonderful to be a part of a group of people creating whatever it is. So, um, I suppose I'm just happen to be a part of a group of people who create music because I'm particularly interested in that. But yeah, then the music. I've often wondered what in particular draws me to PsyTrance. Um, I think it's very, well, at least it should be fairly boundary pushing. So it's exploring the limits of what a lot of people enjoy, maybe what's socially acceptable. Um, there's a feeling of excitement, I suppose. Um, there's always a great feeling of like excitement generated. Um, and there's, well, I suppose because it is boundary pushing, there's a lot of scope for what you can experiment with. Um, so it's not so limited in a sense. Um, you can really play with whatever the rules are, I suppose. Um, and it can incorporate, or maybe it should incorporate, it can and it should incorporate many other forms and styles of music. So um, whatever I have learned or what one has learned can be um, included.
Mm, mm.
Um, yeah,
That's a
I don't know if that answers your question.
No, it was fantastic. You've been really good. You've been gracious with my like scattershot questions. But I'm actually really appreciating that my questions have been like half formed, and because I think it's given you a space to speak that I would have struggled to ask into uh, more directly. Um, yeah,
Mm,
I mean I continue to uh, be in support and interested in your musical process and your musical journey. Um, this playfulness at the place of limits. It's something that has um, I guess I've enjoyed about PsyTrance is the sense its capacity to um, uh, enfold, or its ability to draw from different genre, like be inspired by and somehow contain. It's like able to contain a lot of variety whilst remaining somehow consistent with itself. And that means that
mm,
it can draw from a lot of different spaces of culture, or like from a lot of different cultural artifacts. And then it's like
mm,
the music is almost, it's like it's put into play. Like it's best heard when it's put into play, and when it's put into play it really works like a group of people there. So it's an event, it plugs into a wider scene or happening. Um, it's a
mm,
can be transformative for people. I mean, just the fact of there being a scene, the fact of there being um, like the groups of people that you've been engaged with and are engaged with doing stuff, that that all in itself is a testament to there being something happening there, um, which is which is
mm.
which is it's great. So. Um, I'll give you the last word. I appreciate your being here, our catching up, your being gracious with my questions. Um, I've
Hmm.
enjoyed this. I'll leave the last word to you.
Um,
Yes.
Sweet. Yeah. Well, thank you. Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm not sure what I expected, but I had nothing planned. So I'm also surprised by what came out of my mouth. It was definitely a good opportunity for me to reflect on, my involvement in psytrance and why I do what I do. So thank you. It's given me a lot of my own insight, which I probably wouldn't have really thought about otherwise. So
That's
thank you.
that's awesome. That's part of what I think I'm doing with this cow is just the value of conversation and reflection. I think it's a big drive for me, and I learn a lot in doing it, and I love hearing about people's processes, and um, so I know I told you I'd give you the last word, but I just wanted to reflect that and thank you for that. I'm gonna I'm gonna close here.
Cool.
Sayonara.